Good morning from Fukuoka, Jace, or good evening.
Hi, mate. How you doing? Yeah, good evening here. Cheers. Nice little drink going on.
Yeah, what is that you're drinking?
Red cider, mate.
Red cider, bloody hell. Oh,
it's strawberry and lime cider.
No, I don't like sweet stuff. Yeah, a bit of oolong tea, but cheers. Yeah, this isn't whiskey. Yeah, red. Yeah, I'm all right. Although we've had some sad news, but we won't go into that.
No, we have.
So
probably should elaborate and just sort of say it was just a passing of an old colleague. And just leave it at that.
Yeah. So condolences to Tony and to his family and loved ones. Okay. So it's been a busy week on the footballing front. So
certainly has.
I think last week's European competition's a good point to start at. So I don't know whether it was a Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was a Tuesday. Manchester United went to Young Boys. So we've been talking about interesting names in European football, and you've been telling us how everybody would be looking forward to playing Young Boys, and as it turned out, it wasn't to be like that for Manchester United, who got turned over. So before we get into that game and the other ones, just one thing. It's like one of many irritations I have. I didn't watch the game live, particularly as it's just a group game, the first one at that.
Yeah.
So, but in the highlights package, I forget who it was. It could even have been Martin Tyler, who's one of my least favourite commentators. But
mine too.
As someone who watches Manchester City a lot, and is often reminded of how much players cost. I mean, admittedly, Manchester City have spent a lot of money, but I don't recall hearing anything at all when I watched that game, or indeed a lot of any other Manchester United games or games involving other clubs who spend a lot of money, with any reference between the disparity between the cost of the Young Boys team and the cost of the Manchester United team. So, so I think that's a good point to get off with. Why do we have this inconsistency in reference to money, do you think?
I think a lot of it is media driven, to be honest. I think you get a lot of, certainly with the big teams, you get a lot of media hype, obviously. And you hit the nail on the head. Martin Tyler, he never shuts up about how much money Man City has spent, how much money Liverpool has spent. I honestly don't know who Martin Tyler actually supports, but I suspect it might be Manchester United. I'm not sure. Yeah,
you know this. A lot of those guys, they try to keep it under wraps. Not all of them, but a lot of them do try to keep it under wraps who they support. I know he was assistant manager at Woking.
Who was?
Martin Tyler. I don't know whether he still is, but he had been. Yeah. He also ghost wrote. Whose biography did he ghost write? I can't remember whose it was. But I
think the disparity sort of it does stem from media and even social media, I think.
Yeah, I think personally, I just think it's basically down to pleasing a certain viewer who happen to be more numerous than another kind of viewer. That's what I think it comes down to. Anyway, getting on to the game. So Young Boys, they beat Manchester United. So is that just a blip, or would you say it could point to future problems for Man United down the line?
No, I personally think they took it too lightly. I wouldn't have said that he put his strongest team out. Yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, obviously, young boys would have been playing that game like their life depended on it, and I certainly don't think that Manchester United thought their lives depended on it. To be honest, I think it just boils down to that.
Yeah, I think that's a step. That's the point to which these games have reached. In the old days, if they'd lost that game, especially before the group thing happened, if it had been a two-legged affair, it would have been a big thing, and there'd have been the pressure on for the second leg and all that. But that's why I've lost a bit of interest. It just takes the edge out of a lot of these games for me. There's something on it, but there's not that much on it. You just still feel that they'll be able to make up lost ground comfortably.
I mean, it's not particularly on paper. I know it's not played on paper, but it's not particularly on paper a tough group for Manchester United to get out of. And I don't think they'll be that bothered by losing that game, to be honest, because they're still going to go through. I mean, was it a top two go through, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no way Manchester United are going to finish outside the top two, even with a defeat to Young Boys. There's absolutely no way. I mean, it's not like the group of death that Liverpool have got. Whereas, if Liverpool had lost to AC Milan, then you could almost say they would probably struggle to qualify because of the other teams and the quality of the other teams in that group.
Yeah, I know. Maybe that's a stretch at this stage, but I know. Well, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
The other thing about that game was, did you notice that Young Boys they play on an artificial pitch? I don't think it was anything like that. Those carpets that QPR, Luton, Oldham, maybe I'm forgetting one or two other clubs, but used to play on. But
is it 4G or 5G or whatever it's called?
Yeah, I don't know what the name of the surface was, but you just wonder whether Young Boys have an advantage playing on that kind of pitch as well.
Oh yeah, undoubtedly. I mean, even back in the days of like the QPRs and the Lutons and all the rest of it that had those artificial pitches back in the day, the carpets as you referred to.
Yeah.
They were always gonna. I mean, I remember Luton being a really hard to beat team.
Yeah.
Because people didn't know how to deal with that surface, and I think it's got to be the same with Young Boys pitch. I would have thought.
I don't know about you, but I didn't really enjoy those games on those old surfaces. Yet the BBC would often choose those games to show, even though I thought they left a little bit to be desired, in my opinion. If the ball was hit over the top, it would run out of play, whereas if it's on a grass surface, it would hold up and all that sort of business.
Hoof and bounce, Yeah,
it's
like the Seville Astra pitch.
The other thing about that was, is it Bissaka, the United right back? Is it Wan-Bissaka? He came from Crystal Palace, so
got sent off, didn't he?
Yeah, he got sent off. Did you see the challenge? He kind of stood on the.
I thought it was a red card.
Yeah, I thought it was a red card, but the commentator was saying if that had been in the Premier League, it might not have been. But I think that just shows, gives us an idea what's going on in the Premier League. I agree with you. I think it was a red card, but I also agree with the commentator. If it had been in the Premier League, it would have been accepted and probably just got a yellow. In some cases, might not even have got that. But
yeah, well, we all know in the Premier League, VAR would have sorted it
out. We'll come on to that a bit later, relating to the weekend's games. But as we were saying, it looked like a red card. But the other thing about that I want to talk about is the reaction of the Young Boys defender. It must have hurt. I mean, Wassaka did stand on his foot, but the defender, did he fall to the ground and he was rolling around and he was banging the floor and all this. Yeah, I'm sure it was painful, but I just don't think I would have done that. I don't think I would have reacted like that. And I think he was performing, and I think that performance influenced would have influenced the referee. So, in my opinion, there's a lot of that going on, not only in relation to trying to get opponents carded or punished. I think that also is happening with trying to break up play. So, if a player loses possession, especially if it's in a dangerous part of the park, you often see the players just staying on the ground, and they're obviously trying to get the referee to bring back play and stop the counter attack. And then suddenly, when the ball comes back their way, they're suddenly up as if by magic, and they're fine.
Classic example of that in the Euros with Italy.
Yeah,
who's the guy that plays up front for them? Blonde guy. Can't remember, but it was one game where he.
Is it Immobile?
Yeah, Immobile. Yeah, he dived in the area. Well, I say he dived. He more or less dropped to the ground. He didn't dive. He dropped to the ground in the area looking for a penalty, and he stayed down.
Yeah.
Play went on, and he was actually lying in the way, like in an offside position kind of thing.
Yeah.
Italy go on and score, and the minute the ball's in the back of the net, he's up like a spring chicken running over to celebrate.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
Hang on a minute, ref. Are you not watching this? Are you not watching it? You know, but it's happened for years, and it carries on happening. I just think that one thing I've always said is that I think all referees should be former players, right? That was my phone, not your pinging away.
Yeah, mine's got a different thing.
Yeah, so I think referees should be former players, because if you're a former player, you absolutely know when you're injured and when you're not injured, right? When you're faking it, when you're not faking it. Because I played a lot of football, as you know, not particularly great high standard, but I've had some serious injuries, and I know that when I've been hurt, I ain't moving, right? Yeah, it hurts, but you're not rolling around like an idiot if somebody's like stood on your foot, or you damaged your cartilage or whatever. You just don't move. And my granddad always used to say that as well. I'm talking about my granddad again, but my granddad always used to say, if you've been clobbered by a cart horse, you ain't moving anywhere.
Yeah, your granddad was right as usual. So
yeah, and it's true. You just don't move. You don't move. I've seen it down the years. I mean, look, you got the Cafus of this world that would go down like they've been shot and nobody's gone anywhere near them.
Yeah,
drives me mad, mate.
Yeah,
Ronaldo is the biggest one for that.
Yeah.
He is. Oh, gee, he does my head in, that guy.
Yeah, and the other one they're doing as well, of course, head injuries, as we've seen.
Yeah.
But I think also some players are feigning head injuries as well, because then, of course, the referee is obliged to stop play.
Yeah.
But personally, I think, if I was the manager, I would just tell my players, you're not booting the ball out for the other team. We're gonna just keep on playing, and if the same thing happens to us, we'll accept it. That's the way I would approach it.
Ooh, yeah, that's a bit harsh, mate. Huh? It's a bit harsh.
I would just be excited. It's just really peeing me off. It's tough luck if a guy gets injured. You just play on. I mean, so
in a similar vein, if I was managing the team and one of my players went down rolling around like he'd been shot with an Exocet missile, I'd be getting him in the dressing room afterwards and saying, if I ever see you do that again, you ain't playing for 4 games, mate. That's what I'd be saying.
Yeah, but
because I'd say you're an embarrassment to yourself, you're an embarrassment to the club, and you're an embarrassment to me, and I don't want to see it. That's what I'd be saying.
Yeah, but
these managers don't.
Yeah,
they don't.
Those managers is a part of their game. It's part of their game.
They're not only part of their game. I mean, look at the Steve Evans of this world. Oh jeez, holy moly! That guy. How is he still in management?
Yeah, I'm not sure I ever came across him in my match-going days, so I know who he was.
Oh dear.
Every dirty trick in the book, was it, with him?
Oh, still is. Yeah, absolutely still is.
I don't know where is he now these days, Steve Evans?
don't know off the top of my head. He's still in League Two, I think.
Yeah, I remember when he was manager.
He's at Gillingham, I think.
No, Martin. What's his face at Gillingham, isn't he? Ex-Cheltenham. Martin Allen's at Gillingham.
No. I'm going to look it up because we came across Evans the other day. I'm sure we did.
I thought Martin Allen was still at.
No. I'll look it up. You talk amongst yourself. I'll look it up. Oh, what am I doing here? Right, Steve Evans.
Yeah, I remember he was manager of Boston, going back a long time.
Yeah, he's Gillingham, mate. He's Gillingham because when we got that result against Gillingham, he wasn't very happy. But he's dire. He's shocking. He really is shocking.
Yeah, I think he's been in isn't he involved in some sort of underhand dealings as well outside of football.
He's right out of the Dogan Harris textbook, I'm telling you.
Dogan Harris. What's he doing these days, I wonder?
Bird, I expect. So, I mean, Steve Evans, he's been at Boston, Crawley, Rotherham, Leeds, Mansfield, Peterborough, and Gillingham. He's always hovering around, lower divisions and stuff. And that's probably just as well, to be fair.
That's probably why Leeds didn't go upward very, very quickly. Yeah, just staying on the European theme. Yeah. So I was, again, watching the highlights. So I was just looking at the Seville Salzburg game. Did you see that? So I think Salzburg had three or even 4 penalties? I can't remember. And they only scored one of them and lost the game. Can you believe that? They received three penalties in the first half. And they were all correct decisions. Can you believe that? And the referee it was good to see. The referee didn't duck out of giving them because he was worried about it looking bad, how many penalties he'd been given. Yeah. Did you ever get the feeling that referees sometimes they give a card or they give a penalty, they're not going to give another one because they're worried about how it looks?
Or they'll give one to the other team to level it up.
That's right. Yeah, I remember Glenn Hoddle always going on about that. He's going to have to level things up.
It's true. They do it.
Yeah, they do. So, I was noticing in that game, Jesus Navas, he's back. He's been back at Seville now a few seasons. So you might remember he was at Man City for a few years when Pellegrini was there. Yeah. But when he was at City and in his former self at Seville, he was right wing. And he was one of the most frustrating players I've ever seen. The number of situations he squandered at Man City where he would be in on the right-hand side, all it required was the perfect cross for the tap-in, and 99% of the time he wouldn't deliver.
Must be a Chris Townsend, mate.
And I was watching him play for Seville last week, and could he cross the ball? Yes, he bloody could,
Typical. Yeah, typical.
It's like that Chrissy Camden thing you were talking about.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, sort of touching on that, the amount of times, and I've stopped counting now. I've stopped counting the amount of times that Cheltenham play against ex-Cheltenham players that were absolutely a pile of shite for Cheltenham. do the business against Cheltenham, usually in the first 9 minutes. And you're thinking, what the hell is going on here? I've just lost count the amount of time.
Yeah, so I can't remember where I was seeing it, but you could see most games, and you'd see it. It's players surrounding the ref. Yeah. So, it seems to be me that there are certain clubs that seem to be reviving that. Yeah. So the thing about that is, I just don't understand why the ref just doesn't card them. I mean, the ref has made the decision. Let's continue to play. Why does the player need to talk to the ref? Who's reffing the game? So I think maybe Harry Maguire is one of the worst, in my opinion. So
well, I've always said that they should be able to award a penalty for that kind of thing anywhere on the pitch.
Yeah, that sounds like the basketball decision, or
well, exactly. I mean, you know, just because they're not handing the referee in the box and all that kind of stuff, I'm thinking if they give the referee any harassment or put a hand on the referee or even any dissent, I think dissent should be an automatic penalty.
Yeah, that's making me laugh, but yeah, I mean that's a bit harsh. Even though I think I can be pretty harsh. That is severe.
But I'll tell you what, it would cut down the bloody harassment.
Yeah, it would. Or what about the sin bin? What if they were put in a sin bin? If they did that.
Yeah, sin bin, I suppose. But a penalty is a bit sort of like, that's a bit of a punishment, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
You know, sin bin, you know, you got somebody in the sin bin, you can put, you know, 6 men at the back until they come back on and all that kind of stuff. I think if you're talking about sin bins, you might as well talk about sendings off, because for me, a sin bin, 5 minutes, whatever, it's not severe enough as far as I'm concerned.
I think you know, rugby have got the right idea. You argue with the ref, and I don't know what they do these days, but he used to put the penalty 10 yards nearer. You remember?
Or how about this for a suggestion then? You could say a penalty is too harsh, right? So now they've introduced this, you can have, I don't know, what is it, 15 substitutes or something ridiculous like that, right? I don't know what it is. It's probably what, 5, 6, I don't know. I've lost count. So a guy goes up to a referee and he gives him, you know, dissent, abuse, puts his hand on him, whatever. Then you instantly order the manager to substitute that player, because that would bugger up the manager's tactics, because that manager is going to be using his subs when he doesn't want to use them. He's going to be running out of options later on, etc., etc. So you say, right, substitute that guy off now.
Yeah. So I lost my track of thought now. So I was gonna anyway, I just, it's another peeve of mine. I got a lot of peeves, to be honest, that they shouldn't be allowed to do that.
I got a fair amount of peeves as well, to be honest.
Yeah, so Barcelona, they lost, didn't they? They lost 3-0 at home?
Yeah.
So that was Bayern. Just Bayern Munich are unbelievable. I know they got a lot of financial clout as well, but I also feel they're like a steamroller. They just keep coming, they keep attacking. So you can rely on them. You can usually rely on them to do the business.
Yeah.
So
and Dortmund as well. Dortmund are a bit like that.
Yeah, they usually do the business. I don't even know who their coach is. Is it still the guy that they brought through the ranks at last season, or is it somebody different? I'm not sure who their coach is this year.
I know Bellingham got a screamer, didn't he, apparently?
Oh, really? Yeah.
So.
Yeah. You got to give them credit for picking up all these other guys that clubs in England are just trying to play in the academies. So he's still only 7. He must still only be 17 or 18, wasn't he?
18, I think. Yeah.
And I personally feel, Man City missed a trick when Haaland was at Salzburg. So I really feel they should have gone for him then when he was at Salzburg, and I just think it's going to be difficult to get him now. But yeah, the other thing in that Barcelona game, that Eric Garcia. So I don't know whether you know, but he actually came up through the Barcelona academy, and then he actually went to the City academy.
Yeah.
And he actually had he actually played in the Champions League, was it quarterfinal last year against Lyon? Not this year, last year. And Guardiola, like Barcelona, seemed to fancy him a bit, even though he's kind of short on stature and so on. And to be honest, a lot of City fans wondered what all the fuss was about, and I'm one of those, to be honest. I've noticed a few comments on Twitter from Barcelona fans raising similar concerns by the sounds of it after his early season form. So yeah, in that game, I think it was the second goal. So Bayern are attacking, and Müller tries a speculative shot from outside the box, and Müller just turns Müller makes the shoot, and then Garcia just turns his back like this. If you do that, Müller can dummy him as well. And then try and go past him. Is that good defending in your book, or?
Not at all. No, absolutely not at all. I was always taught face the ball and cover your nuts. That was what I was taught. Face the ball, cover your nuts.
Who was it? You was saying, if it hits you in the face, hard luck. That's part of it. I forget who it was. Somebody would say, if it hits you in the face, that's all part of it.
Bill Shankly always used to say, if it hits you in the face, it means you've been looking at the ball.
Yeah, that's right.
That's what he used to say.
Yeah, the other thing about that is especially on the crosses, and it does seem, like I don't want to get hit by the ball either, especially if it's a bloody dimpled mitre ball from the 1970s, But
on a cold Wednesday afternoon, yeah.
Well, especially if it's on the inside of the thigh, Yeah, I don't want to get
where it says mitre backwards on your thigh for the next 3 weeks.
But you can see you notice some defenders, you can see that's good defending. They're tight on the winger. It's difficult for the winger to get the cross in. And you got to think, in some cases, it could be because that's the way the defender plays, but you've also got to think in some cases it's because that's how the coach has told them to defend. But I notice, and like, I think Man City are guilty of this a bit as well. You often see the defender standing off the crosser and it making it easier for the crosser to get the cross in.
England do that a lot. England do that a lot.
Surely you want to stop the guy crossing the ball.
Yeah. Do you see Barca's result tonight, by the way?
1-1 against Granada, wasn't it?
Yeah, 90th minute goal to equalise, yeah.
Well, to be honest, I just think Coleman, he might win the odd trophy here and there, but he's not going to be there long term, especially if they can get their finances in order. Although with the size of them, I'm not sure that's going to happen anytime soon, especially with no Messi now to help them out. So, yeah, he's just one of these guys. I think he's one of these bluffers myself. So when he was at Everton, you just knew it was a stepping ladder onto Barcelona, like what Ancelotti did as well. Ancelotti did the same thing. Well, I have to say, I think Benitez is a good appointment for Everton. So,
there's a rumor going around he's got a blue car now as well.
Really? Wow.
But he's got 4 red ones in the garage. That's what they say.
I think even though he'd been away, obviously, for a while, quite a few years, I think I'm right in saying he'd always had a house on the Wirral, hadn't he?
His daughter speaks with a Scouse accent.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Apparently.
Yeah. So, that's a peeve of mine. So
Classic night at Anfield, though, wasn't it?
3-2. Yeah, I didn't watch it, to be honest. I just read about it. So it was classic winning 1-0, wasn't it? Losing 2-1, win 3-2.
Yeah, but again, we touched on this the other week. I'm not so sure they'd have got that result with no fans in the stadium.
Yeah.
Classic Anfield night.
Yep. So that actually brings us on nicely to the no fans thing that Man City keep getting aimed at them. So I think there were 38,000 that the Etihad. I hate saying that, to be honest. I mean, so.
Well, my take on it is this, right? If you were a Man City fan that wanted to go and watch them home and away,
yeah,
how much is it a ticket?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, I think you hit the nail on the head there, really, with the pricing.
If you're looking at, say, I don't know, what is it, 70, 80 quid? Something ridiculous, right? You're looking at 70, 80 quid a ticket.
Yeah.
And if you follow them away, you've got to add your travelling costs on top of that. Yeah. Possibly even accommodation costs, depending on where they're playing.
Yeah.
If you follow them in Europe, again, you've got all that to contend with as well in terms of cost. How many games a season do they play? 60 odd, including all the cup games and stuff, right?
Yeah.
You multiply that by 60.
Yeah.
That's an awful lot of money.
Yeah, it is. And personally, I don't care. I mean, if you support a team, of course you want to see as many people going as possible, but it doesn't matter if it's City or Cheltenham. I mean, it's not something I really worry about. I mean, but I think that's a good point. If you look at who attends a lot of City games, of course there are young people at City games, but a lot of those supporters, in my opinion, that they look like they're my age, so they've probably paid off their mortgage.
Well, I've often wondered about this. I've often wondered about this whole ticket scenario. I mean, like Liverpool, for example, right?
Yeah.
Liverpool, as we know, has not been a particularly, well-off or affluent city.
Yeah.
Right. Over the years.
Yeah.
I'm talking about in like sort of like the Paisley years, even probably up to late 80s. Liverpool had its real problems. I mean, I know it's come up as a city, and it's a bit more of a desirable place to live and all that stuff. And you've also got the likes of sort of Chester and places on the Wirral like Greasby and that, which are a little bit more affluent, and people still travel from there to Liverpool games. And I get an awful lot of people do travel from far afield to watch Liverpool.
Yeah.
But as a sort of I suppose I have to say Liverpool are my second team now because I'm all Cheltenham, right? But growing up being a Liverpool supporter, I could never get to a Liverpool game, even when I was up visiting family. Could never get to a Liverpool game because you just couldn't get a ticket.
Yeah,
right? You could not get a ticket for love nor money. Right?
Yeah.
So you got to ask the question, right? Well, who's buying all the tickets then? Because it sure as hell ain't the people of Liverpool.
Yeah.
Not all of the people of Liverpool. I'm saying that all the people that go to those Liverpool games are not all from Liverpool, right? I mean, I might be generalising saying that Liverpool families are poor and all that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, it would be a struggle for your average Liverpool working person to go to every game at Anfield.
Yeah, that shouldn't be the way. Local people should be able to easily afford to go to watch their hometown team. So actually, I saw a comment from a City supporter on Twitter yesterday. He was saying make it more affordable, and there would be benefits by making it more affordable, just not just by what it looks like, but they would maybe buy something at the stadium or something. But then again, you've got to talk about how expensive is items at the stadium. But
when it comes to things like the FA Cup semi-final, for example, right? I mean, Wembley's a big ground, right?
Yeah.
You try if you haven't gone to a City game and
Yeah.
City get to the FA Cup semi-final, if you haven't gone to a City game all season,
Yeah.
you try and get a ticket, right?
Yeah, yes.
You cannot get a ticket.
Yeah.
It's like you have to go from the 10 previous home games or something to even get a chance of getting a ticket. Now, why is that? The reason for that is most of the seats go to corporate.
Yeah. Yeah, but
they go to people that don't even care about the game.
Yeah, but it's not just in football; it's in other things as well. What even the organisers like FIFA, UEFA, the FA, even the clubs themselves. You know what they're doing? They're actually giving or selling their tickets to agents to sell them at inflated prices. They're making money on it. They're making money on it.
Of course they are, and that's happened from as far back as I can remember. As far back as I can remember. You know, if you're unlucky enough to support a top club,
yeah,
you're really lucky if you can get a ticket.
Yeah,
no, it shouldn't be like that. Shouldn't be like that. I mean, even Cheltenham's falling into this bracket now, right? Yeah. If you want to go and see Cheltenham in a like for example when they played City in the cup,
yeah,
right? In order to get a ticket, I would have had to have proved that I'd been to the previous 10 games.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah. What's that all about? I mean,
I know it didn't really apply because of COVID and all the rest of it, but if that was the case, they were playing against the top league side,
yeah,
in the cup. That's what you have to do.
Yeah,
you know that's wrong. I mean, I'm a nobody loves Cheltenham Town more than I do, but I don't get to see him every week because I live in Portsmouth.
Yeah,
it's one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah, I noticed. Is it legislation? Yeah, I'm not sure it is, but there are moves afoot to bring back standing.
Yeah.
In stadiums. I have mixed feelings about it myself because we know why it went all seater because of problems in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And I would argue maybe Margaret Thatcher didn't really care about football, so didn't really consider the impact it would have. But I think also the removal of the standing areas is kind of added to that. It's enabled clubs and ruling bodies to make it more corporate by making packages for games more attractive, for example, all-seater and all that sort of stuff. So all those things have added to making it more gentrified. I don't think clubs, they don't want, maybe they'll take a bit of standing, but this idea of bringing back the standing seems to be more a supporter club based idea, and with the help of the government minister, I think, sports, is it Tracy Crouch? I'm not sure. So but I'm not really sure the clubs want a return to standing at all. But for me, you don't. Why not?
Well, obviously, as you know, when I go and watch Cheltenham, I'm standing, right? Yeah. I'm standing behind the goal because that part of the ground that I go to is a standing area, right? Yeah. I'd love it to be all seated. I'd love it to be all seated, right? Yes, that would reduce the numbers in there and all the rest of it. I'd love it to be all seated. Now, my reason for that is I never, ever, as long as I live, want to witness another Hillsborough, right? But I know for a fact, if we go back to that all standing terrace where you cram as many in as you possibly can and all the rest of it with like very little control over it, that it would only be a matter of time before we had another disaster.
Yeah,
I mean, Hillsborough wasn't the first disaster.
No. Yeah, I think Hillsborough was waiting to happen, although as you say, there'd been problems before that.
So what I would say before anybody decides, right? Before anybody, whether it's in the FA or whether it's in FIFA, UEFA, or even all the chairman of all 92 clubs, right? I would say, right, before you make that decision, I want you to sit in a room with all the families of those that died at Hillsborough, and you tell them why you want to bring standing back, and then make the decision after you've listened to them.
Yeah, I think some of the people who've lobbied to bring back the standing, some of them, of course, will remember Hillsborough and other problems, but some people don't understand why we went all-seater in the first place.
No, it's true. I was talking to somebody the other day about this, and basically it was a young lad I was talking to, and I can't remember where I was. I was at the theatre. That's right. I was talking at the theatre about it, and he was like, "I don't know what all the fuss is about." And I said, "Well, it's to do with Hillsborough." And he said, "Well, what happened to Hillsborough?" Right? And he didn't know because it was not in his lifetime.
Yeah.
So it's like everything else. When it's consigned to the history books, and people become involved in stuff, and they become, either influential or have a say in this stuff, and they are, early 20s, whatever, you get some 20, 25-year-old businessman or whatever, who's got any kind of financial influence.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of them out there, to be honest.
Yeah.
If they don't remember something because it hasn't happened in their lifetime, it ain't an issue, right? The amount all this Twin Tower stuff was on recently, and the amount of people I've talked to and saying, "Oh, that was before I was born," and I'm like, "What?" It's like the further it goes back in history, the less people care about it.
Yeah.
Until it then happens again.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, people forget history, don't they? So I have similar reservations to you. I always just feel that some, not all supporters, of course, but an element of support cannot be trusted. In my
exactly. Yeah, you're exactly right. I'll tell you what, one of the scariest days I ever had was at the Charity Shield between Liverpool and Wimbledon, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it was after Wimbledon had won the FA Cup against Liverpool, so it was a bit of a grudge match, to be honest. And I was at the old Wembley when it was all standing behind the goal. I was in the Kop.
Yeah.
Right. I was in the Kop behind the goal at Wembley. It was the scariest thing ever. Right. You just get carried along. You get carried along. Your feet would be off the ground. You get carried along.
Yeah.
And then you'd feel a warm sensation down the back of your leg, and it's because somebody's having a problem. No, seriously.
Yeah,
no, you would.
I know.
They would literally roll their programs up and use it as a funnel.
Yeah.
Right? and you couldn't do anything about it because you were so shoulder to shoulder, you couldn't move.
Yeah, I was reading the other day about some City fans were saying when they were in Main Road, I can't remember which game they were talking about, but they were saying for 2 hours they just were like this. They couldn't move their arms.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was like on the Kop at Wembley.
I think it was at they were in the Kippax at Main Road, the old Main Road.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think ideally it would be nice to have standing if we could trust fans, but I'm afraid we can't. But I do think it detracts from the atmosphere. So I think that is one reason why we seem to have just a lot of quiet stadiums as opposed to raucous grounds. That's the thing about venues these days. They're stadiums, aren't they? They're not grounds. I used to like the old baseball ground. What they play now, where is it they play? I can't even remember the name of their stadium. And
Pride Park.
Yeah, Pride Park. So
not for much longer, probably.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they've got a few problems there. Yeah, so getting back, so I think it was just a bit of clickbait, getting back to that empty hat thing. The thing about that was Man City had 38,000 there, and I think Leipzig brought 10 supporters, and there weren't very many Leipzig supporters there. I mean, so, and they have an area of the ground designated to them. So I think that they were allocated 4,000 or 5,000 tickets, which they didn't take up. I don't know whether COVID had anything to do with that. So that was that's a little bit of mitigation there as well. But I think you're right as well about the pricing. So I think Vincent Kompany was talking about this. He talked about it a few years ago, and I completely agree with him. And it's true in the League Cup, especially where not just with City, but a lot of grounds, the tendencies tend to be lower. So if the attendance is going to be lower, why don't you just give tickets to the kids? I know Manchester United used to go around and give their tickets to school kids and all that. And it also raises interest for the kids, doesn't it? And maybe it will buy allegiance, if you give tickets. So
yeah, I would say, offer them to the local schools and stuff like that.
Yeah, why don't they do that? I think they're really missing a trick on that one, in my opinion.
Although it didn't work with me when I had a ticket for Swindon.
Oh, right. Right.
We had some tickets sent to us at school by Swindon.
Wow.
And I went to Swindon Rochdale, and I'm thinking, I am never supporting this club.
That's what I call catchment area. So was that when when Cheltenham were in the non-league, or already a league club in the non-league?
No, it was well back in the deep dark Southern League, Midland Division days.
So that's what they always said about Cheltenham, wasn't it? Even in the non-league days, it was a sleeping giant because of the catchment area, because the nearest league club would have been Bristol, was it? Or Swindon? Was Swindon the closest, or Bristol?
Swindon was closer. Yeah.
Yeah, but
touching on that about sleeping giant, they don't like it up them, do they? As they say.
Oh, Swindon.
No, anybody that falls to defeat to little old Cheltenham, their fans get all salty on Twitter saying, "Oh, we should have lost to we shouldn't have lost to little old Cheltenham."
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
To the Oxford, and I'm like, well, actually, we're higher than you in the table. So what are you moaning about?
Yeah. So you're getting back, just last point about those attendances. Yeah, so City had, was it 38,000? But I think the same evening, Real Madrid, they had the similar figure, possibly just 1,000 lower maybe, and Inter Milan was the same, but nobody said anything about that. But then again, Simon Jordan wouldn't get so many clicks, would he?
No, you're right.
Do you listen to Simon Jordan, or?
Not if I can help it.
Yeah, he thinks if you speak for 10 minutes without taking a breath and not letting anybody else speak, it wins the argument.
Yeah.
So, yeah, were there any other notable performances in the European stuff, or?
Not that I remember or recall.
Yes, City beat Leipzig 6-3, but
I see the Scottish teams performed as they normally do.
Well, to be honest, I think Stephen Gerrard's done a great job at Rangers, and I don't know about this season so much, but last year did he take them to the quarterfinals of the UEFA Cup last year?
Did he?
Was it the last 16? Yeah, they went a long way. He took them a long way in the UEFA Cup last year.
All I know is whenever I look at the results in Europe, I see Celtic playing the likes of bloody Midtjylland or Genk or some no-mark teams like that, and they always end up getting undone. When Celtic were the all-conquering Celtic that had won like 9 seasons running, blah blah blah, you think, hang on a minute, it's a great level of this. And Rangers, Rangers are supposed to be some kind of superpower in European football, and I'm like, really? What have you won? Really? What have Rangers ever won in Europe?
I think they have actually won European silverware. Maybe the Cup Winners' Cup might be.
The Fairs Cup, was it?
Yeah, it might be something like that. Yeah, I think they have won something. I think even though City, we were talking, you were saying City being pretty free scoring, and I was saying, well, I don't think their style of play has been that free scoring, but they scored 6 last week against Leipzig, but they conceded 3. And like Guardiola was saying that, you know, if they'd got another one, then it would have been really difficult. I think it was 2-0, 3-1, 4-2. But if they'd managed to get it a little bit closer, then it could have been difficult at the end. And I think there's a inkling that maybe City are struggling this year, in my view. So they dropped points at Tottenham who had no Kane when they played. They started that game off well, missed chances, and then Tottenham came on strong. And then against Southampton, they could even have lost. You know, I mean, that penalty decision was overturned, although personally,
correctly so, in my opinion.
Yeah, I thought it. If it had been given, I would have begrudgingly said okay. But personally, I think it was the right decision. But we all know that, especially without VAR, that would have stood. And even after VAR this time, if it had stood, you know, it wouldn't have raised too many eyebrows.
No, exactly.
But that City performance seems to be happening more and more often, where they just seem to be passing the ball about without any real intent of scoring. And Guardiola was saying it was nothing to do with not having a centre forward, although Jesus is generally regarded as a centre forward, although these days he seems to have been converted to a right back, and not right back, a right winger.
Yeah.
But I agree with him, and I think it points, again, I'm sorry about this, Nathan Ake. So he didn't score any goals, but Guardiola was saying that the problem arose on Saturday with the back four and Fernandinho not doing enough to make it easier for the forward players, i.e. the centre backs, for example, should be poking and prodding, trying to open up the other team for the forward players.
Yeah,
and it was Diaz, I think, wasn't so guilty of that, but Ake was just playing the safe ball. It was the old England syndrome where you'd watch England in a World Cup game and see Terry Butcher pass it sideways to Russell Osman or Joleon Lescott moving on a few years later, passing it to whoever Joleon Lescott was playing. They'd pass it sideways, and you know, after a few passes, they'd shin it or hit it out of play. Whereas Guardiola expects his centre backs to play it around in order to open up the other team, not just to play safe. So I think we can look at Nathan Ake on that front as well. Although he didn't concede any goals. He scored a goal in the Champions League as well, and he hasn't been.
Father died.
Yeah, hasn't been a good week on that front with our former colleague and also Jimmy Greaves, Boise from Only Fools and Horses. Nathan Ake's father apparently had a terminal illness, but he died. I heard literally just a few minutes after Ake scored, apparently. So so I'm not confident that City are going to be in contention for the title this year. Although I wouldn't bet against Guardiola. You know what he's like. Actually, last year it was worse. City got off to a worse start last year. Then they went on that winning streak that took in the Cheltenham game. So I think Cheltenham would had were the only team in that time that actually were leading against them. I might be wrong on that front.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah, so yeah, I wouldn't bet against Guardiola, but I just wonder whether this is one step too far on the stubbornness front. So he's not having any of we're missing a striker, but the number of chances that they create, not necessarily on Saturday, and don't convert, it's criminal, really. That's the thing about Guardiola. I think I might be wrong on this front. It's just my gut feeling that Guardiola, if you listen to him, you'll hear him say it's his job to get his players with the ball to in front of goal. But he doesn't seem to worry too much. And then he will say it's their responsibility to put it in the net. He doesn't seem to work on converting chances. Whereas I feel Klopp, I might be wrong on this, I feel Klopp works on getting that ball in the net. That's my feeling. It's a part of his coaching.
Yeah.
And the other thing I noticed, you watch those Tuchel teams, you can just see how well drilled they are. So I remember when he arrived, I think they did double training sessions and they just worked on the drill. You can see a lot of those drills where they're playing the ball out of defense. You can see it's like clockwork. They can do it automatically. So, so it'd be interesting to see. City have got some tough games coming up now. I think and also I wouldn't be surprised to see Wickham give them a good game in the League Cup today, because City have got a few injuries. Plus, Guardiola also does tend to play the younger boys in the League Cup, especially in the earlier rounds, like he did against Cheltenham in the FA Cup last year. He played a few of the academy guys.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised to see Wickham give Cheltenham a good game to not Cheltenham. Wickham give Man City a good game today.
I wouldn't be surprised.
League Cup. And also,
I just want to correct myself on Rangers.
Yeah.
Before we get any, mail. So yeah, you're right. Rangers won the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1972.
Yeah.
After being losing finalists twice in 1961 and 67, and they were the first British club to reach a UEFA Cup tournament final. But a little side note to that is they won the Cup Winners' Cup once, right? But they've won the Scottish Cup 33 times. So they've been in the Cup Winners' Cup, or the equivalent of 33 times, right? And won it once. In terms of league titles, they've won the Scottish League title 55 times. Have they ever won the Champions League or European Cup? No. Just putting that out there. Anyway, I was correcting myself and just wanted to.
Yeah, so you were downplaying Liverpool's chances, but I think they've started impressively. So are you still staying with United and not Liverpool or Chelsea, or are you going to change your mind?
I still think United are going to be the ones to beat. More so now that they've got the whole Ronaldo bandwagon going. That seems to have given everybody else a little bit of a spring in their step. They've also got strength in depth, United as well. Jesse Lingard is now back performing for United after his spell at West Ham.
Yeah, Zuma should have been tight on him. Lingard had he took it well, nice finish, but really Zuma was way too far off him. We were talking about not allowing crosses in. He should have been much tighter on Lingard for that one. And also then Mark Noble came on just to take the penalty. Did you see that?
I did see that, yeah.
I didn't. I don't know about you. I was watching it and I just thought, I don't fancy him.
No, I didn't either, to be fair. You just know, don't you? You just know sometimes.
Yeah.
Back to Liverpool, I think, they've started off great. They look great. And, to be fair, they won at the weekend without either Alexander-Arnold or Robertson. And Milner, that guy, he's Peter Pan, that guy. How he can slot in at his age
How old is he now? How old is he?
I don't know, what is he, 34, something like that? 30.
I think he might be a year or two older, actually.
I'm gonna have a look because I mean he seems to. Oh, he has been around forever, hasn't he? But
He
for him,
started young. I mean, he started playing at 16, I think.
but for a guy at that age, he was born 1986. So what does that make him? 35.
Yeah.
So 35. So a guy who's 35 to come on as a right wing back, and I thought he was man of the match, actually, to be honest. But that's just me. But you know, some young lads can really take a lot from that. Really, I mean,
but who have Liverpool played so far? Have they played Palace? I don't think they've played anyone particularly tough, have they yet?
Chelsea.
Oh right, yeah, they played in the 0-0. You're right, and also they won at Leeds, didn't they? Although I'm not.
Chelsea was 1-1, I think.
Yeah, they were. I was impressed when they won at Leeds, although I'm not sure Leeds. I'm just wondering whether Leeds have got a bit of a second season syndrome. They do say, you know, Bielsa, he starts off with a lot of energy and then that they lose a bit of energy with time. So it'll be interesting to see whether that happens at Leeds.
Brighton have gone off like rockets. They beat Leicester yesterday.
Yeah. Actually, I saw somebody I think it's all, you know, a bit knee-jerk reactions in my view, but I saw City fans saying if and when Guardiola goes, then Graham Potter would be a good choice at Man City. I'm not convinced like that myself, although I'm not saying he's done a bad job at Brighton. But yeah, I think maybe people like Brendan Rodgers would be ahead of him in the order.
I'm not convinced Rodgers would actually want to leave Leicester, to be honest.
Yeah, I think he would myself. I think if City, Chelsea, Liverpool, well, he's obviously already been at Liverpool, Man United. If one of those clubs offered him a job, I think he'd take it myself.
Do you reckon? It all boils down to money at the end of the day, doesn't it?
Sorry?
It all boils down to money, I suppose, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I don't think it would just. I think obviously money would be a factor, but I think he would just like. Of course, he's doing well at Leicester, and they're in with a shout of silverware. But I think he would just like that to have another go at just that, with no disrespect to Leicester, but at a club that had more resources and more potential to win silverware.
I'll tell you what, I often spare a thought for Newcastle fans.
Yeah.
Right?
Sleeping giant. Talking about sleeping giants, they are a sleeping giant.
The stuff that those fans must go through on a week basis.
Yeah.
You know, they'll play people off the park one week and get absolutely annihilated by lesser teams the following week, and you think, geez, where's the consistency going on here? I mean, that guy, St. Maximin, he is a gold nugget waiting to.
He is a classic Newcastle player in my view. You know, like in the Peter Beardsley or the Colombian guy, I can't remember his name. Springer, yeah. He's in that mold. I mean, that he's the kind of player they love watching. You know, he just gets a ball. You know,
he's a bit like Adama Traore as well, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah,
but I just wonder, you know, a club the size of Newcastle.
They are a sleeping giant. The other thing about Newcastle is a little bit different. Okay, I know Gateshead are there, but they're non-league. But they're in the same city. They're not competing with another big club, so that they're one big team city. So they have that going for them. I think also that adds to the togetherness of the thing as well. You know, you look at
their ground is just
fantastic,
and I just cannot, for the life of me, understand why they've got Steve Bruce as manager.
But to be honest, I think I expected them to struggle. Well, they have struggled, but I expected them to struggle more with him, especially with him as manager. But to be fair to him, he kept them up. And also with not the backing that other managers have had at other clubs. So you got to give him credit. I'm not sure about the style of football that they play, but you got to give him credit, in my view.
I think personally, Mike Ashley needs to just step aside and let that club flourish, because he's holding that club back. I don't care what anybody says.
Yeah, I mean, well, we were talking about business acumen. Unlike Cheltenham, he has got business acumen, and he will not be pressurized into doing something he doesn't want to do.
No, but what I'm saying is he hasn't really got the ambition for that club, right?
No, but
he's quite happy for it to just tick over and whatever you know, as long as they stay there, he's not that bothered, to be fair.
That's right. Yeah, well, it's a bit like Crunken there at Arsenal, even though Arsenal have been faring better than Newcastle, but Kroenke doesn't seem to be that fussed about going for glory.
I don't get it. I just don't get it, because I mean, if I had Mike Ashley's money and I was if I was in charge of, you know, Liverpool, for example, and I had Mike Ashley's money, if Liverpool weren't doing the business on the pitch, that would affect me. That would affect me a lot. And I would say, right, okay, it's time for me to move on. I've got enough money. I don't need the money at a Newcastle Football Club. You know, let's get it sold. Let's move it on.
But there was that Saudi bid, wasn't there? I forget the lady's name. There was an English lady who was fronting a Saudi bid last year, and I'm not sure of the finer points, but it seems that other clubs, I don't know whether Man City were one of them, but I think Liverpool, Man United, and those clubs, they objected to it. So,
of course it was. Here's a question for you, a hypothetical question, right? If Newcastle had Guardiola, or Klopp, right?
Yeah, they'd be up there. They'd be there. Yeah,
they would.
An absolute sleeping giant. Yeah, massive, fantastic fans, fantastic stadium. Yeah, I remember Patrick Vieira saying when he was at City, and I can't remember why it came up, but favorite ground, it might have just been in a simple Q&A, I can't remember, but favorite ground, St. James's Park, he said, because he obviously used to play there when he was at Arsenal, you know, and his favorite grounds are St. James's Park. It's fantastic stadium, fantastic support. They've got everything there. Maybe it's a bit out of the way, so for some players they want to be nearer to London or whatever. But these days with aeroplanes and so on, I don't think that's such a big point these days, to be honest. So, but
the climate's not great, though, is it?
Sorry?
The climate's not great, is it?
Yeah. But yeah, sleeping giant, but it can happen. You know what I mean? They're still there. They're Premier League team. I just wonder whether if that Saudi bid will be represented and it could still take off. Yeah, we're running out of time, Jace. So so let's just point out a few stats. I'm not a stats person really, but combined counties, Premier Division South, first place, Bad Shot Lee, played 7, won 7, drawn none, lost none. Goals for 26, goals against 4, goal difference 22, plus 22, points 21. Then at the bottom of the table, I think there's 20 teams, 22 teams. Yeah, 20 teams. Molesey FC. I don't know where these teams are. Is that Surrey or someplace? I don't know. Where is Molesey?
Birmingham.
Sorry?
Birmingham way, isn't it?
Is it? It could be. Played 7, won none, drawn none, lost 7. Goals for 4, goals against 26, goal difference minus 22.0, mirror image. And also FA Cup was on Saturday, second qualifying round. Poole won, Chippenham won, so the replays tonight. So that's Tim's team, actually, my stepfather's team.
Cool.
So, yeah. So, yeah, so that brings, maybe the FA Vases is we got some Main Road. We're playing in the FA Vase last week. So we got the League Cup. I still call it the League Cup. I can't be bothered to call it whatever sponsors sponsoring it this year. So I just call it the League Cup. It's Carabao Cup, isn't it? Yeah. So as I was saying, City are playing Wickham tonight. I wouldn't be surprised to see Wickham give City a good game in that one, partly on account of some of the younger City players starting, or it looks like they're going to start. Although, to be honest, City have got some good young players that you might not have heard about. So, of course, Phil Foden, most people know about him, but they've also got Cole Palmer, who played for England and 21s, I think, the other week. So they have got some good youngsters.
We've got Preston, haven't we?
Sorry?
We've got Preston, haven't we?
Yeah, that's what I was going to come on to. So, not Premier League team, but...
Championship, isn't it?
Yeah, championship team. I don't know how Preston just seem to be one of those teams that are perennially in the championship. They just seem to be in some fog in the middle of the table always, without really pressing to go up or look like they're going down, although I know that's not completely true. So I think also they're a founder member, aren't they, of the Football League?
They are.
So I don't know whether you know a lot about Preston. Do you know anything about them?
Currently, I don't. I know, like you say, they've always been sort of like there or thereabouts, but never really. Well, not in my. I mean, I know back in the sort of like 40s and 50s, they were huge, weren't they? Preston North End.
Yeah. Did Tom Finney? Tom Finney, did he play for Preston?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. I want to say Dixie Dean had a spell there as well, but I might be wrong on that. Yeah, I mean, Johnny Haynes, I know he was at Fulham. Was he at Preston for a bit as well? I'm probably completely wrong on that. But Preston, yeah, they've always been there or thereabouts, but never really sort of rattled any cages. They've never really looked like knocking on the Premiership door.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it'd be a tough game, but I'm fairly confident with Michael Duff in charge. Cheltenham will give them a good game. So,
yeah, I don't think it'll be a walkover, but I don't think we'll win it personally.
But I'm happy to have got to this stage. Is this the furthest we've ever got in the Carabao Cup?
Yeah.
So I think it's a good achievement to have got to the third round, especially winning at Bristol Rovers, both at Bristol Rovers and Gillingham, albeit on penalties against Gillingham. Still
did it though. Got 5 out of 5.
That's right. Yeah, you still got to have the nerve to put those penalties away. So
a lot of them were young lads as well.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Yeah. So I think that's a great performance. We've got the fact also there's a bit of money in the extra money in the kitty. I'm guessing. I don't know, but
that'll pay for the loan players, won't it?
Also a bit of I don't know. Do they get any TV money out of it? I don't know about that.
I don't think they will. They got TV money out of the Burton game because that was live on Sky.
Yeah. Okay, so I saw a comment. Do you think there's anything in it that Harry Kane's on go slow at Tottenham not having moved on, or is it?
No, I think that's a crack. To be honest, I think Harry Kane certainly for his England career is not going to do that. He's a professional. He's a professional footballer. Whoever he's playing for, whether he wants to be there or not, he's going to perform because he wants to play for England, right? He wants that record. He wants the goal scoring record for England, and he ain't going to do that if he has a slump in form. Playing for Tottenham. I think Tottenham are on a bit of a slump, not Harry Kane, to be fair.
Yeah, well, basically they should never have got rid of Pochettino. That we were talking about Daniel Levy's business now, but I really think they're going to regret that. They should never have got rid of Pochettino.
I agree. I mean, he got him to what, 4th, was it, or something ridiculous like that, and then
Champions League final.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. They should have kept him. Absolutely should have kept him. I'm glad they didn't.
I'm also, I was speaking to my stepdad also about Wolves, how Wolves have started, which reminds me of how De Boer started at Crystal Palace. So I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know the guy's name. Who's managing Wolves? Is he a Portuguese guy?
Yeah.
But apparently the guy is at Tottenham now. Can't remember his name though. Who's the guy who's managing Tottenham?
Is it Nuno Gomez or whatever?
Yeah, Nuno. Yeah. So he was obviously at Wolves before, and apparently they had a spat. He had a spat with the owners there about money available for transfers. So,
Yeah.
but I also think Wolves are going to regret getting rid of him.
I agree.
So, wouldn't be surprised to see Wolves struggle this season. I don't think Tottenham are going to be in contention for honours this year either.
No, West Ham's still going great guns, especially in Europe.
Yeah, they've done well, and really they could have got that draw against United on Saturday.
Yeah.
Although I got to say, United got a bit of that Ferguson about them. The amount of times they come from behind to win games, which is something Man City don't do very often.
Well, that's because they don't go behind very often.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. So, you could argue that as well. Maybe why are those teams going behind in the first place?
Exactly.
As I said, Jace, I'm pressed for time. So can we finish on left backs? Your goalkeeper is Ray Clements. Right back, hold on. Your right back is, who was your right back? I can't remember. Who's your right back?
I can't remember either. Who did I say? Oh, Passarella, wasn't it? Passarella.
Yeah. So I checked that. I checked Passarella out. So he may well have filled in at right back, but he was generally centre back. But he scored a phenomenal number of goals. He was renowned for the number of goals scored. And he also had a sneaky elbow, apparently, that the referee never got to see. But he's regarded as one of the all-time great South American central defenders. I do remember him winning the World Cup for Argentina in '78. He was captain, I think.
If I was going to be a manager of this team, I'd be putting him at right back. All right, and he wore the number 2. That's a right back, in my opinion.
My right back was Cafu. You were having a go at him earlier about his diving. So, and at left back, this is all-time left back. So we were just messaging each other in the week about how we could maybe do a Cheltenham, City, Liverpool, England.
Yeah, we'll do all-time.
Yeah, all-time 11.
Later on.
Further down the line, but for the time being, we're just doing a world all-time 11. So who's your left back?
Roberto Carlos.
Yeah, I was looking at him. Yeah, he was good. Roy Hodgson let him go when he was at Inter Milan, and Real Madrid picked him up. So that was always a strange one to me. So why would you pick him as your left back?
Basically because I think, well, first of all, he was the first person I thought of, right? And usually with the first person you think of is who you go with your gut, isn't it? But I just remember that free kick. That free kick. I mean, one shot, one goal doesn't make somebody the best in that position in the world. But when you think about that, I mean, it wasn't just the once. He used to do that over and over again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, I don't remember what he was like defensively, but I don't think he was terrible. I don't think he was bad defensively. Yeah,
the solid left back. I mean, he had the legs as well. He had the pace to get up and down. He was another classic wing back. But whenever he was playing at left back, Brazil didn't concede many goals. To be fair.
Yeah, I'm pressed for time, Jay. So I'm just going to quickly squeeze mine in. So I wouldn't say that's not a bad shout, Roberto Carlos. I had a look at him. Yeah, I had a look at a few on YouTube. So there was Ruud Krol for the Netherlands, Nielsen Santos for Brazil going back, Facchetti, he was Italian left back.
Yeah.
I noticed, I'm not sure about Nielsen Santos, but Ruud Krol, Facchetti, they scored a lot of goals as well. But I looked at Carlos as well, but I finally decided on Paolo Maldini. So I don't remember I don't remember opponents ever getting the better of him.
Wasn't he a centre half?
He later, in his later days, he was centre half, but he started off as left back, and he also scored some goals. A lot of them were great goal screamers. So, you know, he played in that great AC Milan team of the late 80s. So yeah, I finally decided on Paolo Maldini. I really got to go, Jace. So can we finish there? We'll pick it up again next week. You got time?
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. So okay. See you then. See ya.